Man, I would want them to know that Hogan's is a comfortably cool bar where you get to be, you get to be whatever you want to be. I mean, you can come as you are. We aren't, there's no issues with how you want to be and how you want to act. You know, don't be an asshole. That's it. That's kind of the rule.
Yeah.
That's it, really. No arm wrestling and don't be an asshole. Like that's kind of it. I want people to know that it's a comfortable place. It's a safe place. We take great care in the drinks that we picked out, the beers that we have on tap, the beers that we have. Like we try to curate something that covers just something for everybody. And that's what we just kind of want to be everybody's bar.
Many locals of the Lewis-Clark Valley know Hogan's Pub as an institution spanning the decades. I have been going to Hogan's for over 20 years, starting as a child going to lunch with my grandparents and getting the usual, a basket of chicken strips and a bottle of root beer. Now when I go, the beer is made from barley, and I get to walk past the black railing to the bar without being scolded by my grandmother. Most of the time. Drew and I got to sit down with the new owner, Skate Pierce, to discuss the eclectic style and storied past of Hogan's, from its transition as a sporting goods store to a cafe, and eventually the public house as it's known today. Skate also shares Hogan's insights, like the heartwarming story of the Yo-Yo King Dave Croker, and the role Hogan's and its patrons played in his life, and the hard work of a small staff, of which I got the impression seemed like an extension of Skate's family. For me, Hogan's is a warm, comfortable atmosphere to have delicious drinks, fantastic food, and quality conversation. Stay tuned for much more on this local establishment after a brief pause for what's happening this weekend around town.
Friday, March 6th, Shania Rawlings is going to play at Riverport Brewery at 6 p.m. Also, First Friday at Art Uncorked in honor of Women's History Month, showcasing the art of Jamie Laws and Amy Canfield at 5 p.m. Go check out Jamie Laws' episode of the Old Spiral podcast if you haven't listened to that already. Also, the third annual Women's Leadership Conference, Extraordinary Women in Pursuit of Ordinary Equality, is happening at Lewis-Clark State College's Center of Arts and History, and that's from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now moving into Saturday, March 7th, practical self-defense class at Diamondback Shooting Range in Lewiston at 10 a.m. Get better at defending yourself and your home with a firearm if you would like to partake in that. Then Beargrass, a folk duo, is playing at Brock's at 8 p.m. And the Civic Theater 49th Annual Gala and Auction is also happening at Red Lion from 6 to 9 p.m. And finally, there is a really cool benefit concert for the Idaho Food Bank that's happening at the Clearwater River Casino, and it's a Fleetwood Mac tribute band, so that should be pretty cool to check out. All right, and thanks for listening, and check out the show. Today we welcome onto the show Skate Pierce of the Clarkston City Council, and he's also the owner and operator with his wife Meghan of Hogan's Pub in Clarkston. Welcome to the show, Skate.
Hello, it's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
Lovely Sunday. We just got hit with the that crazy storm.
Yeah, that was like an inundation of rain. It was kind of crazy.
I had hope for this morning. It was all nice.
Yeah, it was lovely, and that went away pretty quick.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, and thanks for coming in. We know you're busy. You got a lot going on. So it's nice to have you in to support our little podcast about the Valley, and it's good to have a local business owner in to come and talk about his business.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we understand you recently just purchased Hogan's. So what was that process like, and how long had you worked at Hogan's before you became the owner with your wife?
Well, so my wife worked at Hogan's before we'd met. She moved back. She did some traveling in England and moved back and got a job at Hogan's. And at some point, did I have my 10-year class reunion? And I walked in and I didn't recognize two people who came up to talk to me. And so I just turned around and walked out the door and went to Hogan's for, I hadn't really been there more than a couple times. And she was the bartender and it was late. and we talked her into giving us a shot past last call, just like, hey, we're really good tippers, we'll do this. And she did, and I left there and just commented on how hot I thought the bartender was. And, eventually I got myself in there and we met, and so she was working there when we met and when we started dating. And then Hogan's lost a really popular longtime bartender, EP09. He passed away, and I stepped in for him. So this was in October of 2006. So I was there for about 12 years. I took 1 year off to use some of my college education, and then reminded myself why I didn't do that.
And what would that be?
I went to school to be a high school science teacher. So when I left, I actually went and worked with school-aged kids in a daycare, and then ended up administering whatever their private school and school-age kids program for a year. And then about 364 days into that, I needed out and got back into Hogan's. So it was like 12 years and 3 days after my first shift that we bought Hogan's.
Okay.
And so I've been there for that long. And then there was just a point where the previous owner, Tony Salerno, had just been ill and unable to work. And it's really hard to run a small business if you can't get in there and eat up payroll and work those hours. And it became, I'm assuming, unsustainable for them to just pay us to do everything. And his mom was helping run it, and she was 86 years old at that time.
Oh wow!
So it was time for them to sell, and so we just started going through the process of getting a small business administration loan. So we worked with Dan Rudolph up at Washington Trust Bank. It was super helpful, but a super insane process of providing signatures on paperwork every other day. And
I was looking into doing an LLC, and I saw your guys' LLC, and I think I even came to talk to you about what that process was like before.
Yeah, it's wild. Get an attorney.
That was your advice.
And we fortunately, between my wife also owns another business, Tap Into It Massage Therapy.
Oh, is that around here?
Yeah, it's 100 feet down the road and across the street from Hogan's.
Oh, cool.
Ooh, I'm going to have to check that out for sure.
So, but between a Hogan's customer and one of her clients, we had an attorney who was really good at this, and he stepped in and helped us form our LLC and walk us through all that. But there was, I was talking about it with someone last night. I mean, it was about, if you took all the paperwork we printed off, signed, sent out, filled out, it'd probably be like a foot tall,
just a
stack of papers.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, it was wide. It took about 6 months to go through, but it was great. I think it was on October 30th of 2018 is when the sale finally went through. And as soon as I walked out of the title company, I went over to Hogan's and just went in the basement and fell asleep for an hour. I needed a nap. It just kind of was a weight off, and I just went and passed out. And then from there, we just started a whole thing, and Hogan's has a great culture. I don't think I would have tried to start my own bar or do anything if it wasn't specifically Hogan's. That's somewhere that I really love, and I love what we are for the Valley. We are an oasis of sorts for people looking for something different. Hogan's has somehow been styled more on maybe a bar in the west part side of the state. People will frequently comment that, there's bars just like this over in Seattle and Portland, and that's kind of the atmosphere we're going for here.
I know it's a little cheesy, but as someone who's a longtime customer of Hogan's, there is just something a little magical about it. Just from being established for so long, I don't know if it's for being established for so long or just how it's decorated, there's something about it that sets it apart.
Yeah. When you walk in there, it feels like every single object in that place was meant for that area. It just the vibe, the scenery, everything is just great about that place. It's really cool, and like you said, it is a really unique establishment for our valley. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, and that's been curated over time. There were the two ladies who kind of turned it from, it was a diner, sporting goods store, and Stacia and Furia are their names, and they are the ones who turned it into a bar, and they're the ones who put the effort into kind of curating the clientele. They wanted Hogan's to be a safe place for everybody. I think they are like the way they went about it is why Hogan's gets the reputation for being a gay bar.
It does have that reputation, yeah.
Which is not unintentional because really if someone has a problem with Hogan's being a gay bar, maybe they just don't want to be around us.
It's not that it is a gay bar.
Oh, no,
it's that
it's
if
a
you
bar for
have a
everybody.
problem with it possibly being gay people in there, then maybe it's not your place.
Yeah, maybe
to
it's
go.
not your place because we really want a relaxed atmosphere. We don't have fights. In my now 13 years, I think there've been 6 fights,
There's one.
and it was
I
and
can
it's
think of one.
and it's basically just 2 people got in 3
I'm not
different
gonna
fights
bring
each.
that up.
So it really just it doesn't happen over there. The Clarkston police are very thankful for that. When compared to across the river in Lewiston, those officers are getting called to bar fights pretty frequently, and I don't think the Clarkston police even have to worry about that with the few amount of bars we have and just kind of the way they are in Clarkston. They appreciate that. So we've done a lot to cultivate a certain atmosphere and a culture in Hogan's.
Yeah, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm not a big bar goer typically, but as far as bars go in the Valley, I always want to go to Hogan's over any other place because it's a spot where you can go and have an interesting conversation with an interesting person. Like you said, you don't have to worry about why the hell's that guy looking at me all weird? Am I about to get in a fight with this dude? Or it's a nice, relaxed place with really cool people
And no TVs.
Right.
That's a hard and fast. There will never be a TV in Hogan's.
Not only no TVs, but great music. Whether it's a band playing or just
over the
music
system.
playing over the system, it's really good music.
Yeah, and that's something we make sure we pay for our music rights and so we have access to everything. The magic of Spotify. I remember when I first started, Dave Coker, who was one of the bartenders, and Stacy Streeter and I would all burn CDs, and we had a 6-disc changer, so it was constantly trying to make mixes and get them to not skip because we'd also we had 25 CDs we wanted to play, and then you take them out and throw them, and they get scratched.
Wait, Skate, our younger listeners don't know what you mean by skipping.
Oh yeah, between the vinyl of my early youth,
Yeah.
and then CDs, just in the middle of you're throwing a party every
yeah.
night is what you're doing, and then so when the
it.
when the CD starts doing that, it kind of
Throws off the vibe
It
a bit.
really does. It just
Yeah.
it messes with the energy of what you're trying to do in there. And
Oh man.
So, do you know a little bit more of that backstory that you hinted on about the transition from Hogan's being a sporting goods?
Because it still
place?
says Hogan's Sporting
And
Goods,
I
right?
have wondered about that my entire life.
okay, so late 30s, I haven't pinned down the exact year. So the closest we can come is we have those. We do bingo. The last Monday of every month. Mm-hmm. On the back of those bingo cards are stamped dates from when they played bingo in the 30s. So we have dates in 37 is the
Wow.
earliest date that I can find on a bingo card. So I know that Hogan's is somewhere 1936, 1937, and it was started by George Hogan. He was a longtime Clarkston resident. It turns out my best friend through most of my life was his neighbor growing up.
Oh wow.
And he had the bar, and he was a huge fisherman. If you go into Roosters, they have all the pictures, and there's a lot of pictures of Hogan's, and a lot of pictures of George Hogan with giant fish, and that was his thing. He was a consummate fisherman, and so he had his sporting goods store. So it was hunting and fishing and everything you need with that. There was a diner. And then I've heard stories of in the back. There was a little poker room where the old cats would get together and smoke and drink coffee and play poker. And then Hogan's had changed hands after George gave it up. And that's where I kind of lose the story. I've met people who are like, oh, my mom owned Hogan's for a few years here, and then I don't really catch up to it until Station Furia took it over. I want to say sometime in the late 80s, 87, 88 is what's sticking with me. And then there was a lady named Treela Gallagher who took it over, and it's kind of just been evolving since it became a bar. Because they brought in a bunch of taps and they brought in some interesting beer, which was something that I don't think was common in the Valley. They set up the tap box and brought in 14 beers. I think, most places probably had 3 before that.
And
so,
you still have a lot of beers. Do you have local beers or even a lot of even like to Spokane and Seattle type of beers on tap? Regional?
Absolutely. We do largely target regional beers. We have a lot of we have a few European beers, the Hefeweizens and the Belgian
Paulaner,
Whites, the Paulaner and the Hoegaarden.
Heather will pour me one of those as soon as I walk in.
Yeah, and then we have Harp and Newcastle and Guinness. So we have a specific set of European taps, and then we always carry one Riverport tap, and then and we try to go regionally. I have in cans. I have Spokane beers, some from Paradise Creek up in Pullman, some from I want to say Chehalis.
You've got that beer from Montana. Is it that Smokehouse?
Oh, that
Kettle
Cold
House?
Smoke, the Kettle House Cold Smoke. Yeah, we try to keep that in heavy rotation because that's a delicious
popular beer, and it's good. Yeah,
and those people have what is quickly becoming my favorite outdoor amphitheater venue.
Yeah,
there is. I've been to a couple concerts there recently, and they just took the gorge, scrunched it down to about 1/5 scale, but kind of kept the amenities and the things in the same area. So you just have this shrunk down gorge. There's great sound. I saw Ween there, and we saw Bon Iver there. And those are 2 of the best sounding concerts I've ever seen in my life. So I like to support.
They do get in a lot of cool artists to that venue.
Yeah, they really do. So I like to support Kettle House. So we'll, try to keep them around because I appreciate what they're doing. I like to be able to go over there and see things.
So I'm sorry, what were their names again? Stacia and
Furia.
And Furia. Were they responsible for making that really cool iconography of the Hogan's logo with the bomb, or when did that come about?
I don't know exactly when that came about, but I want to say there's a lady named Tree who's come back a couple times and painted it for us, and I think she's the one who, I think the painting on the window, the Hogan's has been there, so we just got a picture from the it's the Washington State Grain Growers Association had an old picture of Hogan's. And so it did have the lettering on the thing, and I don't know where the bomb came from, but it's kind of become a thing. I've got it tattooed on myself. My wife does. I think we've got about 13 people who've gotten the tattoo. So it's
did you get $1 off drinks?
Yeah, it's a lifetime happy hour prices.
Nice.
So
awesome.
you buy 100 drinks, you basically pay for your tattoo right there. But we've got a dozen of them. I mean, there's some behind people's ears. There's another bartender at a different restaurant who has one right on the back of his right hand. He wanted it to be a little smaller so we could try to sneak into concerts. He's already got a stamp, but they made it big.
It's very pragmatic.
Yeah, it is. Except that's how artists get paid.
You're right. That's really cool. So did you get that tattoo pre or post ownership?
After post ownership.
Okay.
Yeah. We just went in maybe a month after we bought it, and my wife and I each got it put on.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool.
So not only do you have a lot of beers on tap, but you're a great bartender. My wife comes in, she loves the what's that sour one you do, the Puckett?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's one of her favorites.
The Puckets and the sweet tarts, those are
Yeah, what are some of your specialty drinks? And you said you've been bartending for a long time.
Yeah, I've been doing it since 1997, so I think I'm about 23 years into bartending, and back then it was, really sloppy new bartender, and then, eventually I started to find out that there is a craft of bartending out there, that there is an impossibly deep well of knowledge that exists in the world about bartending, and so I started reading books, and the internet is incredible for information, and really try to flesh out what I think is important in there. So currently I'm trying to learn the whole tiki craft, which is its own thing, using a lot of rum and fresh juices and certain flavor combinations. So the last maybe month and a half, I've kind of been, behind the scenes, just making my own mixes. There's an allspice dram, which is a sweet rum, cinnamon, allspice, clove, mixture that goes really well into certain drinks. And this week I made I guess it's a liqueur called a falernum, and it's falernum, yeah, with a F. And we can't get it distributed. There's one company that makes it, and the people who distribute that liqueur don't come to this side of the state. So I had to make my own, and it's like a bunch of lime and ginger, and again cloves and sugar, and a really strong overproof rum that's just a really funky Jamaican rum that tastes like dirt and bananas and molasses, which I've really grown to enjoy rum in the last couple months. There's a lot of fascinating flavors out there, and this valley is completely nearly void of rum. You get Captain Morgan's,
right,
the Bacardi Gold and Bacardi Silver, and Malibu, and maybe some people carry a dark rum, Myers or Kraken, but that's it. But there are thousands and thousands of different things out there, small distilleries and farms and methods of making it. So that's what I've been digging into lately is doing tiki cocktails. And I spent a lot of time over the last 2 years working on classics. So there's certain families of drinks, the old fashioned being kind of the base of that's the godfather of all cocktails. And that's a very simple one, but it's an incredibly easy one for people to overdo because it's a very fine balance. And so you dig back and try to find recipes from the 20s, like pre-prohibition and post-prohibition, and figure out kind of what you like. And I've got that one down really well. And then there's all the sours and flips. Flips use whole eggs, yolk and white and everything. And the sours, many of them use just the egg whites. Mm-hmm. So learning how to separate those and denature my proteins, so you get like the meringue foam. And then there's a group of drinks called daisies, and just trying to learn all the families and just learn as much as I can. I don't even know how many drinks I know, but I keep adding to it.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily have like a diary of sorts or a running catalog of like these recipes that you come up with. It's just kind of all in your head.
Yeah, I do have a knack of having a pretty solid memory. That's always kind of been like my one. It's helped me through my entire life, is just being a warehouse of useless information.
Got to get you on a trivia team.
Yeah, I can. I do well, and we've been watching. I've been watching Jeopardy since I was a little kid, and I can occasionally run a board. Not as often, as like somebody who deserves to be on that show, but I can do pretty well on it.
Yeah. It would be kind of fun if you were interested. You could give us a recipe that we can post when we post this episode.
Okay, yeah, you bet. We've had a couple that I've just come up with. I just kind of started digging into some Japanese whiskeys because
that's really cool.
Yes, Scotch, which Japanese whiskey is a single malt, which is what Scotch is, and they're really similar. Scotch has just had a 25% tariff tacked onto it, so that gets a lot more expensive. So I've kind of been looking over, trying to find other ways to get that same profile and not have to pass on such a cost hike to customers. So
yeah, that's cool.
Japanese whiskeys have been there. So I've been making old fashions and finding different ways to fit those profiles into drinks.
Yeah. And that's really cool that you provide just an additional layer of atmosphere and experience for a customer, because I mean, knowing that, you're going to appreciate a drink so much more if you go in and know like how much fine tuning and how much selectiveness there is in getting your ingredients and the thought process behind it, than if you're just like, yeah, I want a Cuba Libre or whatever.
Yeah.
Give me a Caesar.
Yeah. And that's what I love when people challenge me. I mean, I'm happy to make a rum and Coke, whiskey Coke, just those really simple 2 ingredient drinks. I mean, I can do that all day, but I love when somebody, last night somebody just said, make us something delicious. So I used, I decided I was going to make them a tiki drink. And so I used 4 different types of rum and a bunch of fresh squeezed juice and put together something with some grated nutmeg and some mint that I thought was pretty spectacular. And I like it when people let me just kind of run.
So are you looking to have those tiki drinks ready for summer?
Yeah, and like what we're kind of looking at doing is maybe once a month, just having a full tiki night. We have a bartender who works part-time there. His name's Gary. He is He has, we have a similar experience. He is a far better bartender than I am. I mean, I can easily say that his knowledge is crazy. And so he's got a bunch of stuff. He's got this really cool margarita truck that he used to run in Bend in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he brought in this really neat Japanese shave ice thing that you just put, you put a block of ice on there and it cuts it into razor thin things. And so he would make his pina coladas and daiquiris using this antique shave ice machine. And he is really into the craft of bartending as well. And so we've kind of been working on just having a tiki night. Like I don't want to do it constantly because there's a level of complication that we can't do all the time, while we're trying to do dinner or just having one bartender on, because it's really hard to do with just that limited staff.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a huge bar. How many bartenders can you cram back there efficiently?
It's really uncomfortable with 4 back there, which, we do on like special nights. 3 is you get in the way. 2's nice once you learn to work with each other.
Sure.
It's almost like a ballet. You can spin around each other and you know where someone's going, and we can go a whole night without hitting each other, or particular nights where we're super clumsy, we slam into each other all the time, and it's funny. It's just like, what the hell is wrong with us tonight?
What's capacity on that space?
88.
Okay.
88. All right.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys do food too, and that's one of the things I tell people or what people will tell me is they're surprised at how good the food is that comes out of that kitchen, because it's a tiny kitchen.
Oh, it's.
But Jordan, hey Jordan, how's it going? And Jordan does an awesome job.
Oh, he's
an amazing cook. Caitlin, when we went in there, we go in there often. So we were in there a couple weeks ago, and she says, I think that might have been the best burger I've ever had.
Yeah, Jordan and Eric do a great job. Jordan that guy is such a reliable workhorse. Both he and Eric. He bartends with me Friday, Saturday night. We work together a lot. He used to live with us when he first moved up from California. And my son was, maybe 1 year old. Eric moved into our basement with Meghan, my son Clyce, and I. And so he lived with us for a while, and then he got a job at Hogan's, and he's been cooking there. Those two are incredible people to work with, because they really care. They love Hogan's as much as any of us. They really love it. And so they want the food to be great. So we try to have good ingredients. We source our beef for our burgers locally. I don't even know when it touches human hands right before we put it on the grill. We make sure that it's minimally manipulated. It's just beef. We at the last minute put some salt, pepper, garlic on it, and that's it.
Your bite size is really good too. It's one of the best bite size in the valley.
Yeah, and that's one where we don't fry it, so it keeps it all. It's gluten free for everybody who needs that. Just marinate it in our special marinade and throw it on the grill, and they do. The bite size do very well. We go through. I should probably add it up just to see like how many tons we sell a year of, and it's all hand cut. We have a very nice cut of meat that we get, and we hand cut every bite.
Well, not only that, but just like the really cool drink menu that you have and the specialty that goes in that, you can get some, like, I guess, uncommon foods there as well. Like I've had poutine there before, and I don't think I've seen that on a menu anywhere in the valley. Is there other kind of cool, quirky food items that you can get there that are similar to like poutine or something like that?
So there is one that is some sort of random cousin of poutine, and it's called lomo saltado. And it's not, we don't do it all the time. We run it as a special, but it's a Peruvian dish. And in Peru, there's a large Chinese immigrant contingent, and they have kind of made this national dish that it's a French fry stir fry. It's steak and tomatoes and onions. And then it's mixed with this ají amarillo, which is a yellow pepper paste, which is incredibly delicious. And you mix all that together with some vinegar and soy sauce and chives and green onions, and you make a stir fry out of French fries and steak. And it is incredible. So that was introduced to me this year, and I have a friend, Raul Delioth, who is his wife has been a friend of ours for a long time, and he had his mom come up from they came up from Lima over Christmas, and she brought me a big bag of the ají amarillo. So we've been using that as much as we can.
Which is a really specialty ingredient, because I've been to Ecuador before, and I mean, like, ají's on every dish there, and you can't really get it in the United States.
You can get it in a little tiny jar that
Yep.
costs you like $18, and it's that's not cost effective. So we did it. Brian Kolstad actually was the one who first told me about it and brought me a jar of it.
We were talking about Brian Kolstad with Matt Plemons today. He's on city council, right?
He was.
He's
been off for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay, but yeah, he came up in the last one.
Yeah.
We did. That's
and,
awesome.
And in fact, Matt Plemons and Brian Kolstad and I had Printers Distillery at one point.
Yeah, we wanted
Yeah,
to
we
talk
wanted
a
to
little
talk
bit
about
about
that.
printers
Yeah.
in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
But
let me know.
Before we go on to printers, though, I wanted to talk about, well, unless we still want to talk about
I
that
don't know the
delicious
food.
sauce.
We just we.
But you do a burger every once in a while. Is it Portland based? Is it like a Mo burger?
Oh no, it's from Missoula. We do the.
Oh, that's right, Missoula.
There's the Missoula Club. The Mo Club is the common name for it, and they do a burger. You know, you go in there. It's a bar. It's busy. It's kind of all ages. We've taken our kids in there. Every time we go, we get one, and it's a simple burger. It's the basics, and they're really cheap. Like a single burger with onions and cheese is $5. A double is $7. I don't think they even give you fries over there. You get a burger, and that's I think that's all that they serve in there. Is you get a cheeseburger. You got to pick your cheese. You get like yellow or a horseradish cheddar, and you can have it with or without onions. And I think you can add bacon, but I never have. But we'll just go in there. After the Bon Iver show. We went to the Mo Club, and for breakfast we all had Mo Club burgers, and we had a Coors Light for breakfast, which was delicious.
good.
Yeah, the Mo Club in Missoula is well worth a check out. I think they make what is arguably the best burger I've ever had.
Wow.
And you do kind of your interpretation.
Yeah, we do, and we try to keep it pretty true to that. And we'll probably end up, because it's so popular. When we did it, we ran it for 2 weeks as a special, and we went through like 50 pounds of burger just making those little Mo Club burgers. So we're trying to figure out how to add it, and make sure that we always make sure to pay our proper due to the Mo Club for having such a delicious thing, and the fact that we are straight taking it from them. And so when we modify it, we'll bring it in and do a little bit of our own, and we'll probably just call it the Ho Club burger.
That's awesome.
And keep it in. But yeah, that is a fantastic burger.
Yeah. So I think another thing to point out about the unique experience at Hogan's is this guy that I've seen in there a number of times that works the counter and does other stuff. And I think his name is Dave.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with Dave, but can you talk about him?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
What he means to Hogan's?
So Dave he has been around the Valley for a long, long time. I think he turned 69 years old this year.
Drives a little Blue Beetle.
Yeah, has a little Blue Beetle, and he has a nice little red Audi TT that he brings out when the weather is really nice, but only when the weather is really nice. So Dave's been around the Valley forever. People know him as he was a motorcycle mechanic and worked down at Max Cycle for a long time. He went to Vegas for a while and came back, and David had a very serious motorcycle accident, probably something that should have killed him, driving up outside of Colton. Just went off the road and hit the dirt on his motorcycle, and it really messed him up. And he had a long time where he was recovering cognitively and physically. And so he started coming to Hogan's and socializing, and that was really a form of his therapy. And then eventually he just started helping. And he was just using, we were letting him, do little things, and it was helping him physically rehab, and then talking to us all and telling stories was helping him get his memory back and cognitively rehab. And then he's kind of become just part of the family. Let's see. So when Mason McCroskey of the Maple Bars was working at Hogan's, he and Dave would hang out after hours and talk, and Mason would just sit and listen to David tell all of his stories about going to Vegas. And if you listen to the Maple Bars album, it's called David Daniel Crocker. Oh. It is essentially a rock opera based on David's story of his sister died. And he was up here and she was down in Vegas, and he thought that was really strange. So he went down to go see what he could find, and he had all these adventures down in Las Vegas while he was there, meeting Elvis. He met so many famous people, and did a lot of TV repair, worked in restaurants, went to a Curtis Mayfield concert where he and the other guys. So I can't remember. I want to say the line in the Maple Bar song is, there were 10,000 men and only 2 of us were white. And they went to that Curtis Mayfield thing, and Dave said they were like the only white people in the whole building. And it was fun and a really interesting thing. It's something that's stuck with him forever, doing that. And so that whole album is David's story about going and, him having to tell his mom that his sister was dead and all the emotions tied in with that. It's really, knowing David and knowing the Maple Bars, that album is really an incredible thing that they did. And Dave is super proud of it. He always has us bring it up on Spotify so we can tell people about it. And we keep an old picture of him working at Max Cycle there so he can come and show people what he's doing. He's a jack of all trades. If you need just any kind of tinkering done, and he can fix a car, he can fix a motorcycle, a lawnmower.
He can play. He can do the yo-yo,
and he can do the yo-yo. That's his thing.
That's what I've noticed. He's a pretty supreme yo-yoist.
Yeah, and he just and that's something he's been doing since he was a little kid. Like, he still has old antique yo-yos. He can take them apart. He used to, write letters to yo-yo manufacturers, and they would send stuff to him and sign things and special bearings, and so he can pull apart a yo-yo, replace the bearings, and do all the stuff and make it like better. Like, he can always improve on the yo-yo until it's like a professional performance quality yo-yo. And he loves busting that thing out. And and especially at night when all the lights are dim and Hogan's, he busts out his glowing lit up yo-yo and does tricks out there. And everybody in the universe only knows walk the dog, so he has to do that a lot.
Man, that's awesome. That is such a cool backstory, and I didn't know anything about that. And that's such a neat connection to Hogan's. And
and he used to live in the neighborhood with Hogan's. Back all the way back when Hogan's was a completely different animal.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. Well, and we mentioned a bit about printers. Could you talk about what printers was or still is?
Yeah,
what is it?
Was. Okay. So it was. There was a group of us that wanted to start. So it's Brian Kolstad and Matt Plemons. And then Matt Plemons, a current partner, I think, at Greenfield, Aaron Tatum, and I just kind of all got together and wanted to do this. Oh, and I can't think of Jim Hepworth. I think an English professor at LCSC. And we all got together and wanted to do this and, spent our time researching and learning and sampling and doing some science experiments on vodka to figure out, like, what vodkas have percentages of methyl and ethyl and heads and tails and, good alcohol and bad alcohol in them. And we went in and we started our own distillery. We were driving over to Prosser and doing all the mashes and all the distilling and the bottling and the labeling over there at, it's got 2 names. It's Second Chance Distillers, and I can't remember the other name of the distillery we were working with over there. We came over and we got distribution in Idaho and did well. But then there's just a point where if we wanted to really start producing and making it work, we were going to have to invest a lot of money. The cheapest thing in a distillery is $25,000. Like, if just one equipment, one piece of equipment, and that's the smallest one. So we were looking at having to invest, $500,000 minimum to really get us to where we want to be. And I think right there, we had an investor who we were working with in Alaska, but she had her own issues happen where she ended up having to build a whole new building for her restaurant and crab fishing company. And, she wasn't able to invest, which is completely understandable. You got to take care of your own before you take care of somebody else. And so when that time came, wanting to go out and ask people for $500,000 was more than any of us were interested in doing or even felt comfortable doing. So we got to the point where we, didn't quite break even, but we weren't losing our butts on it. So it was a good time to walk away.
Yeah, I tried some of the vodka. It was really good.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
We had a few mixed drink that was like a huckleberry vodka drink, and it was super good.
And it wasn't just vodka, was it?
We were working on. We still have a barrel of whiskey in a rick house somewhere that's now 8 or 9 years old. And then we were working on. We took some of our vodka, just the high proof stuff, and then I distilled a few batches of gin, which some of it just kind of disappeared in the shedding of the business. I don't even know where some of that went, but there's a batch of like 190 proof Printer's Gin out there in a couple like 5-gallon plastic jugs. And I've got a few bottles in my cabinet of just some experimental things I was trying, like overloading it with cardamom and different herbs. So I've got a few weird bottles of gins.
It's got cardamom in it.
Oh, man, it's one of my favorite. Green cardamom is just, it's almost like I could almost wear it for like a cologne or perfume. It's so wonderful. But you know, man, when the time came, we jumped out, and it was probably the smart thing to do rather than go in the hole and have to deal with all that. And we all ended up in our situations all ended up just fine after closing that. Matt and Aaron opened Greenfield, and the Greenfield, you know, little empire they have there between
the
Elm
cigar
and
store.
Maple Street. Yeah.
And check out the last episode to learn more about that if you haven't.
Yeah.
So shifting gears here, let's talk about music at Hogan's, because music is another really cool aspect of Hogan's, and it is sort of a bastion for what I think is the best music that you're going to hear in the Valley, typically.
It's something that is for, you know, most of us that work there and have been there a long time, and even back to other bartenders going back ages, music is like one thing that we really love. Like, it's not just something like, I like that band. Like, there's things I love about music that are so important.
You've invested time with the bands that you like and listened to them over years.
But then even digging into the, you know, back catalogs and related bands that never quite made it, and just trying to pick out all the gems that exist out there. Cause there's things that, I mean, I am always still learning new songs with, and again, if I didn't say it, or I'm sure I said it earlier, but Spotify is the most wonderful thing. God, it's the most wonderful app that there is, I think.
Yeah.
And they, you know, you just let a playlist. I'll pick a band or a type of song that they have. So Ween is really nice because Ween they play every type of music.
Yeah, they do.
And so you just pick that one song and then let it run out, and then Spotify will kind of match the feel of that song and play you a bunch of other things that are associated with it. And I learn new songs every day. We just took a road trip, and now I can't. The song is called "Jesus Was Way Cool," and it's almost like a spoken word thing. It is hilarious, and that was one that I think I'd heard before, but it's while I'm working and I can't really focus on things.
King Missile.
Yeah, King Missile. That's it. It is such a gem. But that's something, you know, we really try to cultivate that music and pick styles, mix styles. Sometimes it'll just be, you know, tonight's a night where we're just going to play whole albums. And so I just did that the other night, or just one artist. Sometimes I just feel like listening to everything that Billy Joel ever put out. And, you know, maybe the crowd doesn't want to hear it, but that's what's happening late on a Wednesday night, you know, at like 10
I love
o'clock.
how it's never really the same either.
Yeah. And our music varies wildly. Modern pop is probably the one thing that modern pop and modern country are things that will probably never be played or on accident. And then if I'm working, there will never be AC/DC, which is, you know, one of my personal least favorites. We try not to really play any Sublime, but that's mostly because of open mic and things. Like, man, everybody plays Sublime.
Right.
When was the last time you guys had an open mic?
The last one was just before Christmas break. So we're going to take a couple months off of it. And then, so we're really starting music again. We took a couple months off of music just to let people come in without the entry fee being applied to just coming to hang out at Hogan's.
Which, if you have a problem with paying a couple dollars to see a musician, come on.
Yeah, no, and that's always been the thing. We find it crazy, but I guess I get it. If you just want to go to the bar and you're not into music, I get it.
You can see it both ways.
You're also welcome to hang out outside. There's a great patio out back,
and you got heaters out back this year, which was awesome.
Yeah, they were necessary. I do need to get some propane in there. I thought it was going to get warm, and then it got cold again. I got fooled, and then got busy. So
right,
but yeah, so. You know, along with having our you know, not canned music, but our our playlists and things that we make. And sometimes Eric will spend 4 hours building a playlist and try to build it around themes and sections and the transitions between songs. Like that's something that we've been really into, or trying to find two songs that meld together so seamlessly you can't tell, and then trying to get chains of those going where the flow in from one song to the other. So if you go to Spotify and set your crossfade to 12 seconds, you can really get some interesting mashups with songs where they just
neat.
So
come
now what you
together
need
perfectly.
to do is you need to make Hogan's curated playlists that the public can check out.
And so that is something that Eric is working on right now. He's just trying to categorize every song he hears. He tries to put it hears and likes. He tries to put it in categories by year, by style, by emotion that you're feeling. And so he's actually actively working on that right now.
That's really, really cool. Well, in addition to just good house music that you have playing, you also have a number of live bands that come through. Is that on a fairly frequent basis, or is that just kind of on as it presents itself?
It's a little bit of both. So we generally have one weekend night every week, live music. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to...
Good live music.
Excellent. And we're going to kind of make sure that we are keeping the quality high, because we're asking people to come in and pay. So I think we'll probably try to do it 2 or 3 times a month. So it's not every weekend. You have to wonder if you want to spend the $5 to go hang out at Hogan's. But we try to keep the band, we find bands that we really like. And so we've got, the wonderful Vanna O out of Spokane. Those kids are great and worth every penny you could spend. And then
Dash, Andy Sidow.
Yeah, and I know Dash is coming soon. Vanna O's coming soon. We're going to have a brothers reunion. Dallas is going to be coming back to town in early April, and they'll actually be playing a show with the Maple Bars. We've got this
weekend is going to be sweet.
Oh yeah, this weekend with
Eric Bowen and
Hagen.
Yep.
And Stefan Jarocki.
Mm-hmm. Those are 3 incredible musicians.
And Stefan, he's been around. He was with Wide Stance in the Valley.
He was.
And right now he is on tour. He's the bassist for the Scott Pemberton Band, which is an incredible band.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
And but music has always been a thing at Hogan's. My first thing coming in was the DTs, which was a band back in the early 2000s, regional band, really excellent band. And then Simon Tucker and Jake Anderson with Keith Simon and Bill Wilcox, they had Read 1984. They played at Hogan's all the time. I mean, I haven't seen Jake play in a few years, but I would bet that I've seen Jake Anderson play more live than anybody else.
Well, and it's such a really cool venue because, like you said, it's like 88-person capacity. Mm-hmm. It's a really intimate experience. It's sort of shoebox shaped. So you're up and close and personal with the band when you go see a band there, which is really cool.
Close.
Oh, and it's great because they're always into hanging out. Our thing that we do for bands that turns out really very few, if any other venues. I know a few do. But we provide the band. We feed them. We give them good food. Let them order off the menu. That's on us. Because they're one of us. They're working. They're just the same as Eric, Jordan, and I, and Hope, and everybody. They're working that night. That's their job. And so they come in. We feed them, and then we give them drinks. Make sure that they're having a good time. And so they're out being social and hanging out with people. And that's one of the benefits, and that's something that we have. We do have a really good reputation with touring bands. There are message boards and things where people recommend and ask for venues, and we have a good reputation amongst touring bands for being a place that's great to play. And you might not make, you're not going to make $1,000. You're probably going to make $350 because every dollar we take at the front door goes to the band, and then the bar always throws money at the band as well. So but you're only going to make, on an average weekend, $350, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we provide so much other stuff, and it's a fun place to play that we are able to get some bands that we probably shouldn't. Like bands like Dirty Revival,
right?
That funk band out of Portland. Man, those guys are way
They've got
too
a great
good.
tiny desk for people who want to check
Oh,
them out
yeah.
on YouTube. They have a really good tiny desk concert.
Absolutely. And they're way too good to be playing at Hogan's, but we were the first place that they ever played when they went on tour, and they had such a good time that they'll squeeze us in. I mean, they take a huge cut in their normal guarantee to come play at Hogan's. Then we get, good nationally touring bands, the Jaunty Jam Band. They're out of Colorado right now, but they started over in Massachusetts. They're a pretty big band, and they'll come play Hogan's. And what's that? There's like a bluegrass band, another one out of Colorado, the Sweet Lilies. They're another big touring band that we get, and it's
some of those bands that you just mentioned have also played, I believe, Barge In Fest, which we're mutually partners on in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that we use kind of our Hogan's contacts, with Raleigh, because Raleigh has been a part of the music scene. If nobody knows Raleigh,
Raleigh Hallen. Anyone that does music knows Raleigh.
Raleigh Hallen. He's freaking Gandalf of music in the Valley. I mean, that guy's the most knowledgeable person about music that I think most of us will.
And
ever
not just
meet.
music, but sound.
That's
like
absolutely
you said, PA wizard.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And so, but he's been so involved in Hogan's as we're trying to find those bands. We do kind of dip into things that we've seen at Hogan's, and because there's such a variety. We can have 50 to 100 bands come through every year. So we've got there's a pretty broad pick. So when we do in the Barge In Festival, we do kind of pick from that, because it's we can have guarantees, bands that we've seen that we know we like, we know they're good. And that helps.
And then I'll play every once in a while on a weeknight some background music. It's not like a typical concert you'd have. I'm not the main focus, but I'll come in and I'll play light background music, so you can still have conversation, but there's still something going on. I think people seem to enjoy that.
Yeah. No, they definitely do. And we'll bring in what is his Mike Kelly, the golf instructor. He is an amazing guitar player. Absolutely amazing. And so he's got, I wish I could remember the horn player he's playing with right now, but they have a really cool 2-piece. Wolf. Yeah.
Because they're doing the Kelly Wolf thing.
Yep.
We mentioned that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they're a really cool, just a real nice sonic thing. And it's nice to be able to offer that. We've got our PA is always there. Mic stands are always there. I've got that PA. I'm so familiar with it. I can get a band ready to go. And just to be able, you can go in. About 5 seconds. I can have a band ready to play.
Right.
And then I can fine tune it, but we've got it down, and so we can at any time really. If you bring in a guitar, and it's powered, we can hook up and we can go.
Yeah.
And we're all for that. I mean, the back patio is.
That's a great place to sit down and play and do stuff.
Yeah, it's generally from, especially once Jordan gets out of the kitchen after cooking dinner. So 10:30 on, it's just kind of a jam session out there. People brought drums last night, so we had hand drums and Jordan's guitar, and June's been bringing a banjo every once in a while out, and so it's just kind of a thing that happens on the back patio.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Regularly. Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us? You were telling us before we started about some of the changes you've been making to changing out. You got new booths, and you're working today later on stools. What's your envision for the future of Hogan's? What's your goal?
So what Hogan's needs to be always is, it's not a dive bar, but it needs to be a dive bar. Like it needs to have that feel. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to gentrify Hogan's by fixing it up, but a lot of the stuff in Hogan's is.
No, I was on a stool the other day and it was not safe. It was kind of falling apart.
Yeah, so I've got some held together with Gorilla Glue right now, and I just need to update some of that. Those stools have been there since the 30s, I think, because you look at some of those old pictures, and
well, I've been coming to Hogan's for, I figured out, over 20 years.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, because my grandpa owned Wizard Auto Electric, kind of kitty corner, Kit Wickenkamp, and
that's right. I totally forgot that.
Yeah, and we would come to lunch. I'd be 4-year-old Brian Grimm and walk in. They say, "You want the usual, hun?" And I'd get chicken strips and a bottle of root beer.
Yeah. Oh, funny. I forgot Kit was. Yeah. Kit, we don't see him as much because we put those wood booths in, so he doesn't come in every day for lunch.
You got to get him a cushion.
We got to get him a cushion. So, and that's something that's in the works. We've got like little pads and a little trunk to keep them in so that people with no butts can have some cushion when they sit on the new hard seats.
Well, but it's for a place that's been around that long, it's gonna need updates.
Yeah, and it does. Those stools have been there for like 80 years ish, in that ballpark. They're just obsolete. They're so past obsolete. So today I'm gonna go in and I need to do a test. I need to figure out, because every project I've started in Hogan's has always had a sub project directly underneath it. So there has always been something that is 10 times as hard as the project I'm going to start waiting for me underneath. So today I'm going to go and pull like probably the last 6 stools at the end of the bar, kind of the far end of the bar where fewer people sit, and start cutting into the ground and just seeing what's down. Like, I'm going to rip it out either way, but I need to make sure that when I rip it out, I don't like also pull the bar down on top of myself, or, I need to figure out how everything is fixed. So I've got some, new replacement stools, some freestanding ones. I'm going to keep 2 of the old classic stools. I've got a couple of them that are in really good shape.
Nice.
We had a guy, George Frank, who used to be a Hogan's, just a diehard regular, a wonderful friend of ours who used to travel with us to concerts and do all sorts of stuff. He used to do all the upholstery and repair there. He had a stroke 3 or 4 years ago and isn't able to do that anymore. So that's why Cody Ashby and I did those booths. He built all those booths. All I did is color them. I was basically the crayon guy with those. So I colored the booths and put the lacquer on. Yeah, I did a pretty good job. I was pretty proud of myself for the first time doing anything like that.
Cool.
So we had to change out all the old vinyl upholstered booths because they were awful. I mean, they were so past need. And the red, that was kind of a really nice fit for Hogan's, those red upholstered kind of classic looking things, but they had to go, and we needed something more sturdy. So we built all new booths and put it in, and we lowered the booths down. They used to be on a riser, brought all those down. And then I'm going to work on the stools. I've been doing things in the back. We've replaced tables in the kitchen, trying to make it more efficient in the kitchen.
Oh, it's a tiny kitchen.
It's a tiny kitchen. If you want a picture, at home, the size of Hogan's kitchen, just basically walk into your bathroom and it's probably smaller than that. Like our working room small there. And we just have a little alleyway with outside of the kitchen with a grill and a fryer. So we have to cook in 2 different places.
Yeah, I know sometimes people come in and I don't know, they'll complain if it takes too long. And they don't maybe think about how small it is, and you've only got a couple people, and it's really good, so it's really popular.
Yeah, a lot of times you have one, because in the kitchen, 2 people is about it, man. When you get 3 back there, 2 people are pissed at one person who shouldn't be back in the kitchen. is what happens.
Too many cooks, right?
And it's usually me, and Jordan's mad at me because I'm in the kitchen helping. I made quotation marks for those not able to see me. So it's small. So we're trying to figure out how to improve that and make it work for all of us. Just improve the old stuff out front, the wall. So I am seriously colorblind, and so the walls inside I understand are green. But that shade of green to me is if you took guacamole and just threw it on the counter for a day and then this is what I see versus what a normal person sees.
Right.
The color of old guacamole to a normal person is just the color of the inside of Hogan's to me.
Oh.
So it's kind of this icky brown, which I know it's not, and I've learned to accept that what I see isn't what the average person sees. Mm-hmm. But it's not I would just like something different, just something that I can see a real color of. So we'll probably do some painting or do something on the wall. My wife Meghan has a grand plan to do like a herringbone wood pattern on the wall.
Ooh, that's nice.
And that sounds really neat, but that just the thought of all those cuts and all that gluing and all that work is scary.
Well, and you mentioned like you don't want to like gentrify Hogan's, but at the same time, like you're now a torchbearer for the new legacy of Hogan's. Like it's your family business now. Yeah. So I think it makes sense for you to make some changes and make it your own.
Yeah, and that's important. But there's still an aesthetic and a spirit that I don't want to erase by
homage to that.
Yeah, I don't want to like turn that into like a neighborhood Chili's kind of thing. Like I don't want to go too far.
Yeah,
there still needs to be a level of tackiness and dive bar aesthetic attached to it. Like we can. And we've changed. When I first started bartending at Hogan's, we were not bartending in the style we are now at all. We were just doing nothing fresh, no real ingredients, other than the alcohol, but the bottled manufactured sour mix and Rose's lime juice. And, not that that's a bad thing, but that's not what I want to be doing.
There's no level of craft in that, like you're talking about before.
Yeah, at all. And there's no growth. Like I don't think I could have done it for 13 years if it wasn't a constant evolution and different people. Bailey Puckett used to work there, and she brought certain things. And Caitlin Tucker, Nathaniel Tucker's wife, she brought certain things in. Like, well, why don't we do this? And it's like, Caitlin, that is a fantastic idea. So we changed. So it's been these little evolutions brought by different people who've all come and gone, and it have kind of turned it into where we are now.
That's really cool. For people that maybe don't go to bars very often or that are just idiots, could you describe some best bar etiquette practices?
Yeah. God, Eric and I, honestly, we thought about doing a podcast about that. Just things that people do. And a lot of it is.
That would be a pretty good podcast, actually.
We invite you to come on to this show and do that very podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of things is, just be patient. If the bartender looks like they're busy, they are. And I can't hear people just when people yell drinks at me and I'm trying to do something, I'm actively trying not to listen because I may have a queue of 8 drinks or, just different, like, God, I got to make 5 drinks, go in, drop fries, come back out, deliver drinks, get 2 waters to these folks over here, pull just my mental queue is long and people just shouting drinks at me and waving money at me. I intentionally ignore, not to be rude, but because that's going to screw up everything I have. So it would be nice if people would be just be patient, and a bartender we will get to you. We want you to have a drink. We don't want you to be without. Know what you want, or at least get us into a ballpark. Like when you wait 10 minutes in a line and you walk up front, like, I don't know what I want. Maybe
you should have looked at the damn menu.
Yeah. And there's certain like some of the I've heard like the Philly cheesesteak places, Geno's or whatever in Philly. If you walk up and you don't, I want a Philly wit, you know exactly what you want. If you don't know, back to the back of the line. Get out of my way.
Yeah.
And
no, okay.
There's that urge is strong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you get your drink, but you just gotta wait.
Yeah.
Right.
So be patient. And I know not everybody understands what we're doing. Not everybody's worked that job. It's harder than it looks. I promise it is. So I'd like people to know what they're doing. Be patient. And just just courtesy, just common courtesy is an important thing. God, there's a million things, but some of them apply to such specific people.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. When you're cut off, it's not personal.
Right.
We're doing you a solid, and that's we've kind of changed the way we explain it to people. Just I'm doing you a favor, buddy. You're drunk, like piling another drink on there is doing nothing for you but ruining tomorrow.
Well, it's helping everybody else's experience too.
And that too. And we've actually been getting people just like, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Like cutting off people has become kind of pleasant lately. It's been pretty funny.
That's
like
neat.
it's been people understand and everybody's just like, yeah, you're right.
Which is probably also an uncommon thing among bars in Lewiston and Clarkston, which is probably more likely the guy's going to go, I'm going to get more. I don't give a shit what you say.
Yeah. And you can get that. We have,
Was that a character?
It was. That was Grumpy Gus, bar goer.
I've met him.
Hey everyone, just wanted to take a quick break to tell you about our new Patreon account. That's right, OSP fans, you can now directly help us fund this show and get access to exclusive content. For more information and to learn how you can support the show, head to patreon.com/oldspiralpodcast. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything, but yeah. I mean, there's so many rules. Eric and I have them. We have them down, and most of them are just about not being shitty people.
Yeah.
like they all just kind of come back
Pretty
to the
common
root.
sense stuff.
Yeah, don't be horrible, smelly asshole at the end of the
Right,
bar.
right.
And we've had that guy.
Oh yeah.
And 86 Tim.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on over an hour here, so we want to be mindful of your time. But do you have like maybe a story or a couple stories you want to share that are pretty funny or cool or something like that over the years tending bar at Hogan's?
God, there's so many, and it'd be a lot easier if I had, like a specific attachment. I do remember Austin Moody, for whatever stupid reason, trying to clean the fryers in a hurry. He wanted to get it done so he didn't have to come in the morning, and he took hot fryer oil and dumped it in a plastic bucket. I just don't know what he was thinking. But watching that happen was so wonderful, because that was not something I was going to be any part of. I'm just going to laugh at him and he, like he's so mad, and then you laugh at him, and well, that's just going to make you more mad. And that just makes me laugh harder. So it kind of just turned into this whole, it was a beautiful disaster that I had no part in, except for almost dying for the next 2 weeks.
Was there at least a drain in the floor where this happened?
Oh, no. It was on linoleum. It was on
You don't
linoleum.
want it going down your drains either.
Yeah, the city doesn't want it going down the drains. We have a real problem with that.
Yeah.
But other than everything was slick for like 2 weeks.
I bet.
There was no amount of dish soap you could put on, but
man.
it was worth it. Every slip was
Probably stunk too.
it just smells like fries.
Yeah.
Really, like that just kind of permeates everything. The world smells like French fries. All the funny things are all like stupid things that have happened to Moody.
Yeah.
Him trying to get into a fight outside, and it was one of the saddest things ever. And
Really, we're just shitting on Moody today.
yeah, it could go like there's just so many things that he's done.
Oh no!
But there's just so many funny things, like because we're all pretty funny people, really, and so there's a constant banter and wit going on amongst the employees, that there's a level of shit talking that would be that is pretty brutal at times, like because we know each other very, we are a pretty close-knit family, really. So when you're on your family, you get to say some things that you wouldn't say to other people and feel totally okay calling somebody on their on their bullshit. Not trying to be mean, like not trying to be hurtful, but if somebody's being a dink, you get to say certain things about them that would in a fight would cut to the quick and be devastating. But when you're amongst family and you're joking, it's just a good way to be kind of shitty to somebody who deserves it.
Yeah. Well, one thing we want to do with all our guests is ask them what their favorite band is. Maybe it doesn't have to be of all time, or maybe what you're listening to now. Man, I have a million favorite bands. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think my favorite band is Ween. I mean, that's Eric,
one,
and Jordan.
Yeah, that's one that we've all come from independently. Jordan, or they all have their own stories of how they got interested in it. Mine was during college, going over to my neighbor's house. We had a duplex with some of our best friends, and we'd go over and play NHL 95 on the Sega Genesis and listen to Ween. And, we'd sit around and get high and do that. And so there were 3 Ween albums that are just etched into my memory and are such a very important part of my existence. The 12 Golden Country Greats, Chocolate and Cheese, and The Mollusk those 3 albums were just, that's what we listened to on constant rotation. And every night for most of 2 years, we would sit together and I think just listen to those albums. I don't know if we listened to something else. I was high. But that was college.
You got to reach out to Ween and get him to play Hogan's.
We actually, and actually that has happened. So, Mickey, one of the band members, is a huge fisherman. And we have a friend who made him a fishing pole. One of Eric's friends from California who comes up and visits us. He has a relationship with him. And so, people have multiple times reached out to him, like, we will buy you this incredible river fishing trip. Just bring yourself, even if it's just you, come play Hogan's, bring the band, do something. Cause you're in the neighborhood. I know Emily Ashby's reached out to him. We've all just floated it. So maybe someday that will stick.
What does he say back?
We get nothing, but
Nothing.
I don't think anybody's actually got an official response from him, but we'll keep throwing it out there. At some point, you know, he's going to see, we'll get like the Visit LC Valley, like our tourism bureau involved in this if we have to. But other bands, man, I grew up on Stevie Wonder and like Earth, Wind and Fire, those kind of things. I listened to a lot of old soul and funk, but I think Ween and I've been to a ton of Fish shows. They were a very formative part of me growing up and being the kind of person that I am today.
Did you get into Fish and like sort of the jam band thing more as like an adult, or is that something that you've always kind of been into?
No, what was I? So it was 1996 during the that crazy ice storm that happened. I don't know how old you guys.
I was 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do remember it. I know.
Yeah, there was that crazy ice storm in Spokane. Fish played. They had a concert in Spokane, and one of my best friends, Erica, it was somebody who I grew up with in Boise, and we dated when we were in 5th grade or whatever stupid thing. She actually broke up with me by calling my house, and I wasn't there, so she just told my dad that she wanted to break up with me. So I was told by my dad that my girlfriend broke up with me. I'm sure he loved that. But so anyhow, we met in college, and we've always been friends. We've always stayed connected, and we're friends. And she was just like, "You really should go see this." And so we went up to the show during the ice storm, and it was fantastic. In fact, we drove to Portland for the show in 2 days after that, and it was great. So I've been to 30-something shows of theirs after that, everywhere from I've been all the way to the very northeast corner of the country to see them. I'm all over the Northwest. It's nice that they love the Gorge, and I've got to see them there. We'll see them we're going to go, they're doing 3 nights this summer. We're going to go see one night of them and take the kids and let the kids kind of experience the insanity that is the Fish parking lot, just hippies and weirdness. And it's a really fun thing. And I think my kids will really enjoy just kind of getting to be whatever they want to be. Like my daughter's fascinated by.
How old are your kids?
8 and 13.
Okay.
So my 8-year-old daughter is fascinated by Burning Man. Like that is something that she wants to go. And she's like, you don't really get to dress like that. You can't be that way. And it's like, no, you can do whatever you want to do. And she's just like, it blows her mind. And so she likes being a weirdo. So I think taking him to the Fish show, I think she's going to have a lot of fun just being a weirdo. That'll
be really cool. And yeah, I mean, the reason why I asked, because like, I mean, my background is mostly in like indie punk metal, stuff like that. And I always really hated the Grateful Dead until like the last year. And now it clicks for me. I listen to American Beauty.
Oh, yeah, it's a beautiful album.
I just love it. I mean, that's become like one of my favorite bands now. And it took a while for me to like get in tune with the whole jam band thing. And now I really like it.
Yeah, there is a lot of really good stuff. There's a lot of really bad stuff out there where it sounds like, South Park did that episode where they had a big hippie festival in town and Cartman was, killing hippies or whatever.
Oh, that's right. He was the exterminator.
And they actually used Fish as the band, but the music they had was just this stereotype of a jam band song. But I've heard that song. I know that there are bands that sound like that, and I hate them. So there are a lot of jam bands that I hate. I just really what they make is a lot less valuable than a lot of other music that exists out there. It's
boring and repetitive and really derivative. And yeah, I get what you're saying totally.
Well, I guess if someone who had never been to Hogan's, so their friend suggested, hey, you want to go to Hogan's today? And they said, what's Hogan's? I've never been there. What would you want them to know?
Man, I would want them to know that Hogan's is a comfortably cool bar where you get to be, you get to be whatever you want to be. I mean, you can come as you are. We aren't. There's no issues with how you want to be and how you want to act. Don't be an asshole. That's it. That's kind of the rule. Yeah. That's it, really. No arm wrestling and don't be an asshole. Like that's kind of it. I want people to know that it's a comfortable place. It's a safe place. We take great care in the drinks that we picked out, the beers that we have on tap, the beers that we have. Like we try to curate something that covers what everybody would want. Like we want everybody to be able to come in and find a thing. Like if we don't have Keystone, sorry, but we do have like Coors Light. It's not, we got, or if you want a specific brown ale, I don't have that, but I have this. I've got something, just something for everybody. And that's what we just kind of want to be everybody's bar.
Yeah. And it's family friendly every night until what, 9?
Nine, about 30
Between
minutes
9 and
after
10.
dinner. So
Okay.
we just say 9:30 just to be safe. So, but you can bring kids in. I've seen kids go from being babies to, they're teenagers now. I know 13-year-old kids that I saw come into Hogan's as infants. And, even my son, when he was 2 months old, was his first visit to Hogan's, and, he kind of knows how it is. And
Same with Elliot.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's easy to tell after talking to you how much passion you have for it and all of your employees have for making it a great place and a nice experience. And that comes through for sure.
Yeah, and definitely the patrons too. I mean, people that like Hogan's, like you said, they're diehards. They're willing to get Hogan's tattoos.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and they do there's a lot of self-policing, and they kind of act as gatekeepers sometimes. Like, if they have friends that maybe wouldn't have a good time at Hogan's, they recognize that, and they'll steer them away from it, or maybe give them a shot to see how they feel about it. And if they don't like it, they're not gonna push it on them. But our clientele are, out back. We can't always have an employee out back watching what's going on. But our customers will police out back and make sure that people aren't gonna destroy property, hurt themselves, hurt somebody else. That's super nice. Our clientele is just so wonderful. Everybody's really gracious and understanding. Like you were saying earlier, we get really busy. And, our regulars, they understand that. And we can just tell them, like, hey, you look around, our wait times are going to be about an hour on food. And everybody's like, that's fine. Because they come with a group and they're going to sit and talk. And, we'll try to make sure they're getting everything they need. We do everything we can. And we all really love Hogan's. Everybody involved, from customers to employees, everybody involved. It's just a special place. And I think people recognize that. And we try to keep it that.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Well, Councilman Skate, do
Yes.
you want to? You're not up for when's the next election?
I was just reelected in November for my second term. I think it's a lot of fun. We don't have a lot of serious issues that affect Clarkston politically. We're gonna run into one right now with our local hospital has applied for nonprofit status for a lot of things, and that is going to cost our city quite a bit of money, and it's going to hurt us, and it is going to get passed down to people. So we now have to figure out how the city's going to take that hit, and now all the citizens are going to take that hit, and it's got the opportunity to be a huge hit to something we can survive and deal with. But that's something that kind of just came down the pipe on last Monday, and we have a meeting tomorrow, and we're going to deal with that. But just kind of my goal is to raise everybody's property values. That's how the city can best serve its by cleaning up.
I like it.
Having good things, raising property values. So if your house just by existing in Clarkston, it's valuable to you.
Well, my property value actually decreased recently.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Even after fixing it up?
Yeah. Well, the actual land.
Oh, the land went down. Huh. Well, you're in the county.
Yeah. I'm not in this. Yeah, that's right. Actually, across the street is.
No.
No?
No.
I
So
was
we
told
would.
that.
No, we go down. So Clarkston is really small. So we go from that corner of where the confluence is. Okay. Then you go all the way to Highland is south. And then Highland to 13th.
Oh, I see.
And then basically down to Bridge Street. There's a little arm that juts out like toward the golf course down. It cuts Poplar in half. So one block of bridge of just south of Bridge Street. That block is in the city. But other than that, everything else is in the county. A lot of what people would think would be Clarkston isn't Clarkston. We're really small. It's like 1.2 square miles.
Oh yeah, it's tiny.
I think is what Clarkston is.
And didn't they annex in the hospital as well?
Yeah. I believe it was in the county, and we put it in the city, and so now both the county and the city are going to take that property tax hit when whatever happens.
Yeah.
I have my own opinions on that, but I'm going to wait for more information before I start.
Hey, maybe we'll have you back in as a city councilman. We can talk about that sometime.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because if it goes the way they want it to go, I'll be really mad. Like I'll make the paper for
And
saying bad words on the council days.
And what was Megan's business called again? Let's just plug her up real quick.
Tap Into It Massage Therapy.
Okay.
And so she's been doing that for I think we're 10 years now. She's been downtown Clarkston, I think, for 8. And she's got a great business going on. She's super busy, so busy that I don't get massages.
Oh,
Yeah, she's got a great business going on. Tap into it, massage therapy. And so yeah, we're just like half a block from each other down on 6th Street. So we get to run. I have to, run out the door real quick and say, our highs and buys. We kind of, the way our schedules work is sometimes we can go days with almost not seeing each other. I go to work at 4:30 to 6, somewhere in there. She gets off work from 4:30 to 6, or I'm in a council meeting or some other city meeting. So I think today we were just like, I don't know did I see you this week? Like, man, I think maybe Tuesday we sat down together and watched. We're trying to get through the documentary, The Defiant Ones. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I haven't. Is it worth it?
It is one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. It's about Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine and kind of their past that started, in different decades and through different cultures, but where they met up and just the worlds that those guys lived in. Like at one point, there's an involvement of Suge Knight, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Trent Reznor, Marilyn Manson, and the Tate murder house at
I'm watching this.
Yeah,
This is cool.
It's like just the way that these people have influenced what is really important to me in music. I didn't even know. Like,
That's
just
crazy.
all the things and all just the little things. And it's the one guy started as a sound engineer, worked his way up to producer, and then kind of a mogul. And he started Interscope Records, which Interscope is Trent Reznor, Marilyn Manson, No Doubt, Primus. The first person they ever hired was Gerardo. Rico Suave. Primus thought it was so funny that they hired that guy that they signed with that label, just simply on the fact that they just thought that was so weird.
That's another guy that's way into fishing is Les
Claypool.
Yeah, super into fly
I guess
fishing.
it makes sense. There's a lot of those themes in
Yeah.
Primus's music.
Well, man, we'll let you get out and go hang with your wife. It's probably more fun than talking to us.
I'm going to
so.
go break things at Hogan's right now. That's
All
what
right.
I'll see her tomorrow morning, but
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, come check
thank
out
you both.
Hogan's for the great atmosphere, the good food. They also have a great lunch menu, which is a great value as well. So, yeah, I mean, again, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, that was Skate Pierce from Hogan's Pub. We'd like to thank Skate one more time for coming in. I know he's a busy guy with all the Hogan's remodels and city council and everything. But stop by Hogan's Pub, tell him Old Spiral Podcast sent you. Maybe in the future we can work something out with Skate as a special for the OSP listeners. But for now, we'd just like to thank you for listening and supporting the show as always. And if you'd like to get more involved with here at OSP, consider becoming a Patreon subscriber. As a token of our appreciation to our Patreon subscribers, you'll get access to exclusive content, commercial-free episodes, and we're also working on a logo still. The one we have is temporary, but once we get that figured out, we'll get some sticker packs and some merchandise for everyone as well. We'd also like to invite business owners to become an advertiser on the show. And for more information on the episodes or episode ideas you might have, be sure to email us at oldspiralpodcast@gmail.com or get a hold of us on Facebook, Instagram, all those other platforms. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.